Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. The case I'm going to be talking about is another suggested case by one of you guys, and this is the case of Lydia Gouardo. And I'd really like to thank you for this suggestion. I really appreciate you guys suggesting cases to me. They let me become aware of cases that I never even knew prior to your suggestion, so I really do appreciate them. And if anybody has any more suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I'll look into them for you. Also, let me know if you want your name mentioning in respect to the suggestion. I haven't revealed the name today because I don't know whether this person would like me to, but please do let me know if you would and I will mention names in future. I'd just like to say that I've got all the information for this video off the internet. I don't mean any disrespect to anyone I'm going to talk about today, and the video is for educational purposes. Lydia was born on the 13th of November in 1962. Now, this is actually a French case, so I really do apologise if my pronunciations are off because I find them really difficult on some aspects of things. I'll give it my best shot. She was born in Maisons-Alfort, Val-de-Marne, France. Now, Lydia's biological mother actually met her stepfather, and this would be Raymond Gouardo. After Lydia was actually born, Lydia's mother broke up with Raymond, and then she actually went on to abandon Lydia along with her two siblings Bruno and Nadia, leaving them all in a foster care, and her biological father was never really on the scene. For the first 3 years of her life she was in foster care, and this was whilst Raymond was in jail for armed robbery. But once he was released, he got custody of the 3 children, and Raymond never planned on being a loving father. He took the children, he settled down in Meaux before moving to Colmes in 1975. Again, I apologise if I said those wrong, I probably have. You'll just have to bear with me because it's a French case. So again, like I said, he wasn't planning on being a loving father. Instead, he was going to make these poor innocent children suffer horrific abuse from 1971 to 1999. So for 28 years, Lydia, and for a lot of that her siblings as well, you'll find out what happened to them later on in the case, some of them were luckier than Lydia, but they would be imprisoned, raped and tortured. He began the abuse when Lydia was just 8 years old, and he would continue this until she was 36. Basically, their entire childhood was stolen from them. The enjoyment and the fun that they should have been having was replaced with torment and abuse. Whilst Raymond was serving his time in jail, he actually met a woman who was called Lucienne, and eventually she did move in with the family, and she kind of saw herself as the children's mother. But the children have stated that they did know that she wasn't their real mother, she was just their stepmother. But she did make them call her mum. Now, what actually happened to Lydia and her siblings was basically disgusting. They would suffer such abuse. She would be mainly kept in the attic, kind of a makeshift jail, and the children would be beaten. The pair would even burn them with hydrochloric acid and boiling water. Lydia actually recalled her stepmother giving her a scalding hot bath, which actually caused 3rd-degree burns on her body. And then to conceal these injuries, obviously they would have been visible. They would have been on her arms, her legs, things like that. She was actually kept off school so that basically the teachers didn't see these burns and know that something was wrong. They obviously didn't want the teachers sniffing around, so they just kept her away. I've even read that during this scalding hot bath that caused her 3rd-degree burns to her skin, Raymond actually made her smile as he took a picture of her. I mean, he was obviously a very cruel man, but she must have been in so much pain sat in that bath, and he forced her to smile as he took a picture of her. It's just horrendous, the torment she actually went through, and they all went through. The children were also raped, and I'm really not going to get into the specifics of this because they would use objects that were just utterly disgusting and disturbing, and quite frankly, I don't even want to think about it. I have read what they did, and if you guys want to go and check that out, you can find out for yourself. the kind of things that they used, and you can look it up, but personally I didn't want to include it in my video as I felt it was just too much. Now, all of the children suffered under the tyranny of their evil step-parents, and it really is just completely horrific what they actually went through. At the age of 15, Bruno actually managed to get onto social services about his mistreatment, and he was actually taken away from them. At the age of 20, Nadia left the evil house of horrors and she never ever looked back. Lydia, however, remained. Now, personally, I don't really understand how this happened. If Bruno had made a complaint to social services, surely you'd think that they would look into the other siblings. I know not every case it's all of the siblings that are abused. Sometimes it's just one, like in the case of Elizabeth Fritzl. However, they should still look into all of the other children if a complaint's been made. Now, whether they actually did, I couldn't find any information on that. Whether the children kept tight-lipped and pretended that it wasn't happening, I don't know. But surely there would have been some signs of abuse. There would have been marks, they'd been burnt numerous times. Surely there would have been scars or things like that that social services would have actually seen. Again, I'm not really sure on the specific details of this. In 1996, Nadia actually went to the police and she reported the rape and torture she had endured during her childhood. Like I said, Raymond also raped Lydia. He even did things like keeping notes of her menstrual cycle, but he raped her that often that she did actually bear 6 children to him. And his partner, Lucienne, wouldn't really participate in physical abuse, but she would watch and laugh as Raymond inflicted it himself on the children. So she was just as disgusting as him in my eyes. She never reported it. She just sat and watched while they did it, and that's just horrendous. During her first pregnancy at the age of 19, Lydia was actually tied down for most of the 9 months. And it was basically because Raymond didn't want her to have an abortion. He didn't want her to even think about the idea. So he simply tied her up, so he didn't give her the option of it. And when she actually went into labour, he only let her go to the hospital pretty much as she was about to give birth. Lydia actually claimed that she didn't realise that this kind of abuse wasn't normal. So it would seem that in her eyes, she thought that, I guess, every family was like this, that it was the normal thing to happen within a household. I just don't know. But sometimes people can brainwash you like that, especially when they hold you captive and abuse you like that. It really does mess with your mind. Whilst Lydia was in prison, she did actually manage to escape once when she was a minor, after Raymond had hit her too hard one day. But the police found her and took her back. Obviously, she was a minor. They just brought her back to her legal guardians, which was her step-parents. She did escape a few times, and one time she actually managed to phone legal aid. Unfortunately, Raymond actually managed to find where she was. He caught her and he brought her back, and he actually punished her by burning her arms, her legs and her stomach with hydrochloric acid. It was in 1999 that Lydia finally became free of her stepfather's tyranny when he passed away. Her stepmother was later charged and arrested for basically a failure to report these crimes. She knew that they were going on. She just watched them. She didn't do anything about them. She didn't report them to the police. And she received a 4-year suspended jail sentence. The police have actually expressed their belief that the evil stepfather, Raymond Gouardo, was actually involved in the murder of 4 girls. And this was in the Paris area during 1987. But they didn't have strong enough evidence to back this up. And I've even read that they did actually exhume Raymond's body to try and get some DNA evidence off to match it with these murders. But I don't actually believe that they found any DNA to tie it in. Lydia had since appeared on TV shows, she'd given public interviews, and she still claimed to love her adopted father, despite the abuse she actually endured from him. After he died, she kept a photo of him in a pocket and even explained how she'd planned to kill herself. Now, with cases like this, Lydia could have actually suffered from something like Stockholm Syndrome, where you actually fall in love with your captor. And it's actually quite upsetting that this man tortured her, he did these horrible things to her, and I mean they were horrible to her and her siblings. And she actually fell in love with him. She actually felt like once he passed away that she basically didn't want to be here and she considered suicide. And that's just really sad to think about, that she actually felt like that, despite everything he'd done to her. In 2008, Lydia released a book about her story. This was titled Le Silence des Autres, which translates to The Silence of Others. Again, if I pronounced it wrong, I apologise profusely. In the book, she actually stated that the worldwide news of the Elizabeth Fritzl case is what made her speak up and write the book about her own suffering. She actually stated at one point that she wanted to be friends with Elizabeth so they could support each other and not feel as alone. Lydia went on to say how she believes that the world ignored her ordeal as an abuse victim, and in her book she actually criticises the media and the authorities for neglecting her case if it wasn't for the Fritzl case. Lydia actually still lives in the family home where her abuse took place in the east of Paris, but she no longer goes up into the attic where much of it took place. She still bears the permanent scars of her burns and the horrific ordeal she went through. Lydia and her siblings really did suffer so much, and for such a long time it was just so horrendous to even think about and to imagine what she went through. I really do hope that she managed to kind of, in a sense, lock it away and just move on with her new life, free from her step-parents' tyranny. I hope that her and her children managed to enjoy their new lease of life, basically away from these people that inflicted so much torture on them. I know obviously it's traumatic, it is very scarring, and it will be really, really difficult to move on from such a thing. But all we can do is hope that Lydia manages to enjoy the rest of her life and just be happy with her family. If you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe for videos of similar content. Again, as I said before, if you have any suggestions, please do let me know, and let me know whether you want your name to be said in the video. Anyway guys, that's all I have today on the solved case of Lydia Gouardo. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!